See, it's like bowed there. I'm not sure if that's gonna stay or not. Bowed there too.
Yeah.
What do they have on his body?
No, wow.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
No,
Was it daddy then?
it wasn't that.
Oh.
You brought the trailer back?
Yeah, I walked it over.
Why?
Why not?
So I got the supply lines for the laundry, the vanity, the toilet, the tub, and then I also have this PEX pipe here going up to a rain shower head. So normally you'd want to put a diverter valve in. Somewhere up there you just put another diverter valve in, then you can divert the water from one to the other. But the cheaper and quicker way to do it is to just put a valve coming out of the stem here. So there's going to be the shower stem here coming out, and where it comes out of the wall, all you have to do is put a little valve there, and then the same thing with the rain head. That'll have a 1/2 inch threaded pipe coming down, and you just put a little valve right there, and they're just like a flow control valve. They're real cheap, and you just put them in line with that. That way there's no other valve in the wall to leak. It's all outside, so it doesn't leak inside the wall. If it was a customer's house, I would always put a diverter valve in. But since it's my house, I'm fine with just coming out with a valve on each one of them. That way you can have both of them on, you can leave both valves on, you can shut one off, leave the other one on, or shut that one off, leave that one on. But the rain head I want right in the middle. I actually like using the rain head because it uses a lot less water. Because with a shower head, it needs to shoot the water out, so you need to use more pressure, which with this kind of system, it uses more water to use more pressure. But with a rain head, it's using gravity to fall, so it can pretty much just dribble out of that rain head, and it's still a big swath of water coming out. So in other words, it's like a wide pattern, but you don't need a lot of pressure, which equals a lot of volume coming out. When I'm using a rain head, I'm using probably only a 1/2 gallon a minute, or even less. And it uses gravity to kind of force a little bit of pressure coming down. So if you had a shower head that you had the same amount of water coming out, it would just be dribbling down here, right? But over here, it can dribble out because it's just going straight down. It doesn't need to shoot out. So that shower head will probably almost never get used because everybody in my family likes the rain head. So that's pretty much the primary means of showering. And I almost should have not even put in the regular shower head because nobody ever uses it. So I planned that ledge out a long time ago to give you a little bit more shoulder room or upper body room. And this tub also gives you more room because it's curved. It's the American Standard Ovation tub. So the bottom of it is straight so that when you put the tiles in, you don't have to cut a curve in them. But the top curves out a few inches to give you a little bit more room. So between that and having just this extra 6 inches over here, you get a lot of extra room in the tub. Plus that's a shelf that you can put soap and stuff like that, because I didn't put a niche in here, or a niche, or whatever you want to call it. And I don't necessarily think they fit in all places. Sometimes I'll put those in the bathroom, sometimes I won't. They are a lot of extra work to tile around them. And this is going to be some extra work to tile around this too. But the benefit to having this over a niche is the fact that you also get more shoulder room, or upper body room. So when you're standing in the tub like this, your shoulders is what sticks out the most. So now you get more shoulder room. One thing that I absolutely hate on showers and baths is the single handle controls. I like having the hot and cold separate and then the diverter valve in the middle. I just don't like those. And what's unfortunate is that these are getting harder and harder to find. There's very little selection for these. So you end up using one. I wish I would have gotten one a little bit better, but I've used this model at least a half a dozen times and I've never had a problem with it, so I just keep using it. I just like having hot and cold separate from each other, that's all. Ladder.
Okay, you good? I got my side in. Your side? Yeah. Just make sure the bottom's. Better? Okay, I got my side in. Your side? Yeah. Just make sure the bottom's.
How's the space on the top and bottom? Is it about even? Yeah, that's looking pretty god dang. Looking pretty god dang. That's looking pretty god dang. So I'm still not determined which kind of dryer I'm gonna get. I might get an all-in-one unit that is a condensing unit and it doesn't have a dryer on the top, but I want the option to have a stackable washer and dryer. So I need to be able to vent. And there's also the other option to have a stackable washer and dryer with a dryer being a condensing unit as well. So there's all kinds of options. I haven't picked one yet, but I want the option to always have a vent if I need it. Because if I decide later that I want it, it's a big deal. But right now, I can put the ductwork in to vent it out. So I've been waiting to put that window in until we get the sheetrock put up there, because I want to put all the sheetrock for the second story up through that window. So now I got all the sheetrock. So we'll use the telehandler, put like 20 pieces in a basket, go up 20 pieces at a time. I got 100 pieces here, 8 foot. Huh? Is Pat in there? Okay. Now all the pressure's off. Are we on those shims? So I'm getting to the point where I want to get this roof sealed up, and I want to do this as a test spot because it's a lot less pitch than all the other sides, so it's easier to work on. And it just so happens that it's some of the worst of the roof because it started setting up before we got a chance to really finish it. So there's a lot of honeycomb kind of stuff going on in here. So I'm going to use Rapid Set Cementol to smooth this out first, and then I'll seal it up with the elastomeric paint, the Semco Works. So right now the temperature is pretty mild. It's about 50 degrees. That's pretty much ideal. Anything less than that isn't recommended, but it is fine. It's not recommended. And then anything more than that and it sets up too fast. So this is a perfect ideal conditions. It is very windy, but it shouldn't really affect me too much. So I want to wet this down first, spray it down with some water, just mist it. I just want to mist it. I don't want water pooling up inside these little spots. So the sun's going down, but I got most of this done. It only took like 2 hours. All that's done. The only thing I need to do is this little bit over here. This is all done here. Came out really good, actually. We got an airport right down the road, so people are always training over top. So for the color of the roof, I want it to be as light as possible. So I got white, and I got a separate thing of pigment, which this is a rock slide gray, and this is enough for 1 gallon. So I'm hoping that this will tint it just enough to give it a little bit of color, but not darken it to this gray. This is the same gray that I've been using all along, and it's a really nice color, and I really want to use it for the roof, but I also want the roof to stay as cool as possible. So I absolutely hate the fact that the roof is going to be pretty much white, but it works so much better. White is just going to keep it so much cooler than any other color. So I got to play around with this tint and make sure that it's dark enough for what I want, but also light enough. So this is just straight up pigment, which is like a tint. So you can see it's a lot darker than the white that it started with. I think I want to add just a little bit more gray. All right, so this is kind of the color that it's going to be. The pigment in this paint isn't exactly the strongest, so I do have 2 coats on this, but it looks like it needs another one just based on the color. But you can add more pigment so that the color covers better, but the main part is that it's waterproofed, so I think it's going to stay like this. It's not exactly perfect, it's not very consistent. I could put another coat on, but I'll see how much I have left over, because I got to do this whole thing, and then I also got the front entrance roof here too. So I was hoping that I could just get away with 5 gallons, but we'll see. Because if 5 gallons doesn't do the rest of this, then I'm gonna have to order more anyways, and then I'll put a 3rd coat on. So we'll kind of see how that goes. You can order, I think, 1 and 2 gallons too, but I wasn't sure if I could get the mixture right if I did that, because I want the right amount of pigment in it, and that was per 5 gallons that I did that. But the main goal here was to just see how this works on this roof, see how the paint works with a roller, because I haven't used it with a roller, I've just been using a brush, And also I was trying to seal up this whole part because that's where I'm going to start sheetrocking on the ceiling. So this is the master bedroom right here, and it was leaking through a few little spots where it was like honeycomb down here, spalling. So I wanted to get that situated before we set the sheetrock, which really is like the next step down there. We're ready to sheetrock. And you always want to start with the ceiling. So I didn't want to put sheetrock up and then have it leaking through the ceiling. So you can see I did the valleys with the fabric. I put that in the valleys. And so that's all waterproofed. The ridge is kind of waterproof, but without the fabric on it, it's got like a little crack in it. So a little bit gets through there. I still have to put the counter flashing on these skylights, but it's just super windy up here. So I'm trying not to be up here as much as possible. And it's kind of cold too. So that'll probably wait for a few weeks. After I get this bedroom sheetrock, the next step is to do the bathroom. And so I got to get that waterproof there, which really doesn't need a lot of work. The only reason I skim coated this whole roof is because most of it needed a skim coat. This roof and this roof, I don't think need any skim coat, just a few patches here and there. So I'll just patch it in where I need to and sand it down, and then the rest of it will just get painted. So it's not getting a skim coat like this one is. Over on this side, there's a lot more spalling here. So, or honeycomb or whatever you want to call it. So this is going to need a skim coat here. This one doesn't really need a skim coat here. So the skim coating for the whole roof, I did probably over half of it there. And it went really quick. I was really happy with how it went. That cement all works really good. Because you can go up to, I think, 6 inches thick and down to a feather edge, which is almost nothing. So you don't need like a minimum amount on there, like ½ inch, like some mortars are. So I did get all of my inspections, and I'm ready to go forward with the sheetrock. I got the ceiling furred down. We just used 3/4 inch strips by 2.5 inches wide of CDX plywood and just glued them up to the ceiling with the Gorilla Glue construction adhesive. And for any of you that are watching this house build for the first time, a few videos back I did a test to see how strong this was, and it's definitely plenty strong enough. So this is all ready to sheetrock. I got 12-foot sheets of sheetrock for the ceiling in here as well as all the walls. I like to use that whenever I can. I got all 8-foot sheets for upstairs just because it's a lot harder to maneuver around up here. Everything's a little bit tighter, there's a lot more walls. So 8-foot sheets up here. And I got a whole 34 sheets sitting right here. That's a lot of weight sitting right there, but these joists are good for it. And then I got another half a stack there. So these first like 4 joists going all the way across, they have a stack and a half of sheetrock on them right now. And then I got some mold resistant sheetrock for in the bathroom here. So I didn't really show it on camera, but we framed this all out with 2x6s up here. That way we can put some 2x6 Roxel insulation, or rock wool insulation anyways. So that's the mineral wool insulation, and it's good for up to, I don't know, it's like 2,500 degrees. It's the best fire rated insulation that you can get. And it's also got a little bit more R value per inch than regular fiberglass. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's a much better material. If it ever gets wet, it doesn't shrink. So I framed this up over here and then put Durock on the outside, and then we'll put 3 inches of XPS insulation on the outside, and then I'll put mesh and stucco just like the rest of the house. So everything is furred down 6 inches for the insulation. That was really just for the insulation. Just because if I was to use the XPS insulation on the ceiling, I'd have to have it 4 inches thick, and then I would have to somehow attach to that. So it was just easier to just do this, and it was also a lot cheaper too, because the XPS insulation is like 3 times as expensive as this Rockwool insulation. So this is all framed out. That's all framed out there. So now it's all ready for sheetrock. So to get all the inspections, I got the electrical inspection first, and then I got the plumbing and framing inspection at the same time. and I put everything together so that I could pressure test all of the lines here. And so everything is holding about 75 pounds of pressure. I just hooked it up to air. So down here, I got a gauge here. That gauge has been on 75 for a week now and hasn't moved. So I got that all pressure tested out. I just hooked all the hots and colds together and just pressure tested everything all at once. And the main reason you want to pressure test that is not really the fittings for the PEX, because they never leak. At least I've never seen them leak anyways. But the main reason you want to do that is because of any threaded fittings like this. And I used pipe dope and Teflon tape to put these in. And it's easy enough to just put the valves on. I know a lot of people don't do that. They just put a cap there. But it's easy enough to just put the valve on, and then you just take the screw for this handle off. You put the sheetrock over that, and then you put a flange over that covers, because you're going to need to cut like an 1.5 inch hole out. So you get like a 2-inch flange for it, and it's fine. That way you don't have to unscrew anything and worry about something leaking down the road. You just keep the valves in there. So I got the cold for the toilet, hot and cold for the vanity, hot and cold for the valve for the tub, and hot and cold for the washer. And like I said, I got that stubbed out for a rain head up there. Now there's going to be a lot of plumbers that watch this video that are probably cringing because I use these cinch style rings here instead of a cold expander. But you know, these are fine for what I'm doing. I'm not an everyday plumber. I don't do this every day for a living. So I realize that you get more flow out of a cold expansion fitting. But in this case, it doesn't matter. I have a separate supply going to the washer and dryer. That is just by itself, and it'll go downstairs to a manifold. And then the rest of the bathroom will be on one supply line that goes down to the manifold. And then the kitchen will be on another supply line that'll go down to the manifold. And then the downstairs bathroom and everything else downstairs is on another one going to the manifold directly. So I got the sink, the toilet, and the tub all on one line. And then I got the washer and dryer on another line. And then I got several other lines. So I'm not teeing off everything and going all together. So the flow that you can get on this is fine, because who's going to be using the sink, the toilet, and the tub all at the same time? The chances of you even using two of them at the same time is probably pretty narrow. But it's definitely enough for the tub and the sink, or the tub and the toilet, or whatever. Two of them at once is perfectly fine. And to code, that's fine too. And it's hard to find the answer, but I think by code you can't have the washing machine on the same set of lines that the bathroom is, so I put those separate. But even if it wasn't code, I'd want to do that anyways, because you do use a lot of water from the washing machine. It basically turns the water on full force when it turns it on, so you do want to separate that from the rest of it. And there's also a lot of people that say that these stainless steel rings will rust out, but I've been using them for, I don't even know, 10 to 12 years now. I've seen ones that I did 12 years ago and they don't have a bit of rust on them. I don't know. The stainless steel shouldn't be rusting. I guess if it was sweating all the time, it would do that, but if it's inside the wall, it shouldn't be sweating. If it's something that's exposed, it would sweat all the time, but inside the wall, it might sweat for the first few times, but then after that, it's not going to sweat anymore, unless you have moisture getting into the wall somehow. But even with it sweating, I mean, it's stainless steel, so it really shouldn't rust anytime in the near future. And some people use those copper crimp rings. I hate those things, because you got to make sure that they're always the right size. Like when you crimp down, you got to make sure, you got to check every one of them to make sure that they're the right shape. Otherwise, you could end up with a leak. These are so much more foolproof, because you just got to make sure your cinch ring tool is calibrated every once in a while, and then you're always good to go. You don't have to check anything. But of course, you still do the air test on everything and make sure that it's good. And air will leak out quicker than water will. So if you do an air test instead of a water test, my water is only about 50 pounds. So the air test, you want 1.5 times that. So that's 75 pounds. So you're actually getting a much better result on the test for the air because it would show a leak a lot easier than to just test it with water. And the way that you test everything is you pump 75 pounds of pressure into all the lines, and then you take a spray bottle with some soap in it and just spray down every connection. And I actually had some galvanized pipe on here before, and I couldn't really get it to seal that good, and it was leaking a lot, so I replaced that with brass. And then over here, I actually put galvanized going down for the tub here. Just because the local store doesn't carry a long enough nipple for this, I put an 8-inch nipple on here. So I actually ordered that nipple and I just got it in. So I'll replace that with brass. I don't want galvanized in there. Just that way everything is brass and there's no galvanized anywhere. Some people say that galvanized gets blocked up from deposits from the water and stuff, and it may very well be. I'm not sure. I never run into that problem, but in any case, I'll just replace that with brass and be done with it. I had to order it online because this local stores don't carry the longer nipples, so I got a 8 and 10-inch nipple for that. I may actually just bring that down to 10-inch nipple instead of an 8-inch nipple and just bring it down a little bit further, but then I have the other one for the next time I do this. And then I got my dryer vent going up and around, and that's pretty much maxed out. I think it's just under 35 feet, which I think 35 feet is the max that you can have. So you gotta add the elbows up. A 45 is 2.5 feet, a 90 is 5 feet. So every time you do that, you gotta calculate that in. So it does kind of max out getting over there, but it should be fine. This thing is really nice because it recesses the connection back into the wall. Because remember, the dryer is gonna be up here, so it allows there to be an elbow here without the dryer sticking out from the wall. So I do need to box off that area right there. It just had to happen like that because of that beam there. Otherwise I would have just shot it that way more, but it's fine. It'll just get boxed out. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing as this over on that side, and my ERV is gonna go up there, or actually I think it's an HRV, air exchanger. It's gonna go in that area, and then the duct work from it is gonna come out and into this area right here, because I'm gonna have it framed out the same way as over there. So there's plenty of room. It's just a 5-inch duct, so it'll just shoot right out the side. And this is the north side of the house, so it's never gonna see any sun. The sun always starts there and goes like that. Even in the wintertime, it goes lower, but in the summertime, it kind of comes up higher like this. But the point is that underneath that overhang never sees sunlight. So the incoming air for the HRV will always stay nice and cool, because it's a lot less efficient in the summertime than it is in the wintertime. With an HRV, you can recover a lot of heat, but it's not as efficient recovering the cold. So if you're trying to air condition, then the recovery on the air conditioning isn't as high as it would be on the heating recovery. So that HRV is coming in a couple days, so we'll put that in the next video. And also in the next video, we're gonna start finishing up some rooms. This is definitely the first room because it's the master bedroom. I wanna get this finished up first, and kind of right alongside of it and right after it, I'll finish off this bathroom, which, I need to set the tub. I need to do the tile on the floor. I'm gonna do a tile surround around this tub. And we got some details because we got this ledge here and we got this ledge here. And I'm gonna tile around this, not gonna put any wood or anything like that. At least on the sill here. I may do something like Durock around this part, and I don't know, we'll see. But I'm gonna at least do tile, or maybe even like a stone ledge here, and then maybe like a stone ledge here, and then the rest of it's gonna be tile. I haven't even picked out the tile for this yet. I actually did pick out the tile for my downstairs bathroom, but I don't have an idea of what I'm gonna do for up here. In the past, I've done wood looking tiles and they've come out really good, and I might do that. I really like the look of the wood looking tiles, so I might do that for the whole surround here. except for the ceiling. Most likely what I'm gonna do is pick a wood looking tile for the floor and for the walls, and it'll all be matching. So it'll be kind of neat because you don't really see that too often. For some reason, I don't know why. For some reason, nobody does the wood looking tiles in the tub surround or shower surround. I did it in my old house and I matched them so they were both matching. The shower and the tub in the 2 different bathrooms were matching, and the one bathroom I did it also matching the floor, and it looked really nice. So I'll probably do that again. These 2 rooms over here are going to be the last to get finished in here. When I get the bedroom and the bathroom done, I'm going to immediately start building the cabinets for downstairs here so that I can get this finished up, because I want to get the kitchen and the bathroom in as soon as possible, and the master bedroom. So those are the 3 goals that I have for here. And I'm going to do a whole video on the cabinets, because a lot of you said you liked the cabinets that I had in my old house when I showed that video. I'm going to do the same exact cabinets again. I'm going to do the same exact style, same exact wood. So that's a big process, so we'll do a whole video just for that. I'm excited to kind of get to that point, because that's when things really start looking like something. You guys saw that we got all the windows in. Those look really nice. I'm really happy with the way they came out. And those windows were actually pretty cheap. That's tempered glass, and those were only like $600, and they're Energy Star rated. The problem with those windows is you lose a lot of R value. Even the best of the best, like triple pane, you still lose a lot of R value. Like I'm at like an R23, I think, for my R value in the walls, and those windows are only like an R3 something, maybe 4. And even the best ones are like R5. So it's not that great. So you just lose a lot of efficiency in the walls by putting in a lot of glass. Because I had a lot of comments with people saying, why didn't I put in a lot more glass? And I think I got plenty of glass. I don't like windows that go to the floor. That's one thing I don't like. Because when you do that, you can't do anything in front of it. So all these windows are set at the same height for the sill, and they're all the same windows. And underneath of the window, I can put a cabinet, and over there I can put a couch. So it makes it so that the space is actually useful. It's not a useless space. And then in here, these windows were set up high enough where you can hang coats underneath of them. So I'll take functionality over style any day. And that's kind of the way that I work with most things, unless it's a customer's house. But in my house, I'd rather be able to put something underneath there. What I didn't want is a window to go to the floor there, and then over here I got the cabinets, so then I can't go to the floor, so then on the outside they're not matching. I like it nice and symmetrical. Everything is symmetrical in this house from the outside. Nothing is like mix matched. If there's a window that's that size there, that distance off the wall, then over here, that distance off the wall is the same, and the window's the same height, the same window, the same height on the top, everything is the same. So from the outside, it looks very appealing. But like I said, I'd rather have functionality over style. So I didn't have to do that, but it kind of worked out that way. I was able to do that, and I didn't really sacrifice anything to do it. This window here is tempered, and it's a non-opening window, so that's why I'm able to put it right next to the stairs here. Otherwise it would have to be at least 2 feet up from the stairs. And if it was opening, then you'd have to have a grill across it so that kids can't open it and then fall out of it. So tempered and non-opening you can have right next to the stairs. So I think that's it for this video. We're getting stuff done. We're moving along. It's still pretty cold out, so it's nice to be able to work inside. So I'll be working in here when I can, and I got some other stuff going on with mechanical videos and that sort of thing. So I'll catch you guys on the next video.